Hello and welcome to What the Football. We are back again with yet another video. I'm quite nasally because I've got a bit of a summer cold. It's not COVID, but I feel like absolute shit. But not as shit as some Chelsea fans are probably feeling this morning after having to watch their team in British time at 1 o'clock, watching their team lose 4-0 to the Arsenal. Got fucked up the arse by the Arsenal. Before we go on to the result, let's just say I don't know how on earth all of a sudden, according to football Twitter, pre-season's all of a sudden become as important as like a game in the World Cup or the Champions League. I think we're a little bit, I think the hype and the over-exaggeration on pre-season, I think it's a little bit too much. I think it started. I'm going to say something after the United game. United beat Liverpool 4-0, and United fans like myself have got a little bit gassed up over the football that we've played under Ten Hag. It's been really good. I've really enjoyed some of the football we played under Ten Hag, but at the same time, we played the same style of football under Louis van Gaal when he was manager at Manchester United that first pre-season. So, a little bit of context. A lot of people have been criticising Darwin Núñez over his performance in pre-season against Palace and United. Scored 4 goals against RB Leipzig. Liverpool fans obviously having a go at United fans saying it's only pre-season, but then hyping up Darwin Núñez because he scored 4 goals against RB Leipzig. Well, obviously on the flip side, United fans gassing up over the result against Liverpool, the 4-0, and then obviously treating every other game like, it's just pre-season. I think we've got to be really careful here. Nobody really pre-season doesn't really matter, let's face it. It doesn't. It's just a way of players to get their fitness and maybe a little bit of team cohesion, chance for new managers to see the new team, managers to see the new signings, and maybe find a way where if they lose a couple of games, reshape things before the season starts. That's what it's all about. However, I think for Chelsea it's a little bit different, if I'm going to be totally honest with you. And I know it's easy for me to say this, but I did a predictions video a couple of weeks ago, and the prediction video was that I said Chelsea wouldn't make the top 4. I thought United would make the top 4. Having watched the game last night, or watched the highlights last night, anyway, watched the extended highlights on a legal website, it was actually fine, to be fair. It was perfectly legal. And I watched the game back. I don't necessarily think Chelsea will even finish 5th this year at this rate. I genuinely don't. I think there are a lot of problems with Chelsea. I think Thomas Tuchel is a good manager, but is he an elite manager? I'm not sure that he is. You saw how he handled the Lukaku situation last year. However good or bad Lukaku is, Lukaku thrives under a manager that loves him. He does. You saw that in the first season under Mourinho at United. I know he got a bit of criticism, but he still scored 20 plus goals. You saw that under Antonio Conte. You'll see it probably this season at Inter Milan because the environment is what matters with Romelu Lukaku. I think the environment at Chelsea in regards to the ownership, which I know happened later on in the season because obviously what happened in Ukraine, didn't particularly help the team in itself. But I think Chelsea have kind of been on the slide a little bit since January. I even go back to when they drew 1-1 against Manchester United in the Premier League, the game where Sancho scored after Jorginho basically was wearing school shoes while collecting a ball that was 50 yards in the air. So I don't think this is a fairly new thing with Chelsea. I think this has been a long developing thing in regards to their form. And the big problem that they've got is that they've lost a lot of key players in defence. Azpilicueta looks like he's leaving. There's rumours about Marcus Alonso. I think he'll probably stay. Chilwell, of course, is coming back from an injury. Christensen and Rudiger have both left. They've signed Koulibaly, which is a really good signing. But they've basically got Dad's army at the back at the moment. They got Rudiger and Thiago Silva playing in the back three. Koulibaly, sorry. They did have Rudiger. And yes, both players can read the game well. But Chelsea are in a bit of a strange situation right now where they've got a lot of good young players in attacking positions. Defensively, that it's got to be sorted out, and I don't think Koulibaly is the answer. I know they tried to get Koundé in. Obviously, Barcelona treating Chelsea's transfer activity in the same way that Park Ji-sung treated Andrea Pirlo in a Champions League match, just completely following everything that he does. But Chelsea are in a much worse position than they think they are. And I know I'm just kind of saying that from the outside looking in, but I still don't believe Chelsea will finish in the top four. I think something might happen in the season where, and this is a bit of a long shout, and I'm going to do a video in a couple of days' time, a couple of weeks' time, in which I predict 5 things that will definitely happen this season. I'm going to just give you one right now. I think Thomas Tuchel will get sacked. I do. I think there'll be a stage in the season where he'll get sacked. Why? I thought the end of the season they were pretty poor last year. I think there's a period in the season when they were seriously in the title race, and I actually thought at the start of the season they were going to win the title. I think the Lukaku signing I thought was going to be the last piece of the jigsaw. Turns out that was far from the case, and it turns out that, in my opinion, Kai Havertz is a much better player as a false 9 than Lukaku is as a number 9. Fair play. However, they've just signed Raheem Sterling, and I'm guessing Raheem Sterling's been signed to kind of fill that Lukaku-type void where he will be the number 9, more of a false 9, but he will be the guy that will be getting the goals. Now, we know Raheem Sterling is a kind of player that he has to have service. He's not the kind of player that can make something out of nothing easily. Yes, he scored a few beautiful goals, but Sterling thinks about. He's very much Rashford-esque. Like, if he has to think about it, he does cock it up a lot of the time. Sterling is a much better instinctive kind of player. He's the kind of player that you get where you cross the ball in the box, he taps it in, brilliant, 1-0. Now, obviously, Reece James and Chilwell will provide the width in that regard. But I do feel that Raheem Sterling is a little bit of a lavish signing. I think he's a signing that doesn't quite fit the way Chelsea play. I don't know what Thomas Tuchel's style is, to be totally honest with you. When he first came to the Premiership, I heard he was this gang press, attacking 4-5-1 manager who had a kind of Klopp copybook. I was going to grade it into this Chelsea team. He did show it in his first season, his first half season, but that was because it was about getting top 4 and probably potentially in the Champions League, which is what they did. I think they play some of the most boring football in the Premier League. I do, Chelsea, under this manager. I think it's very pragmatic. I don't think it's very short passing. It's very, you know what I mean? It's kind of, they pass the ball nice and well, but if they haven't got an attacking threat, nothing happens. Like, they can't make something out of nothing. That's the thing. It's all about passing and movement. What do I think about Chelsea this year? Well, they could win a cup like they always do. And they were very unfortunate in the cup competitions, all 3 of them. They should have won against Real Madrid in the Champions League. They're a much better team when the backs are against the wall, Chelsea. That's the thing, they are. Against Liverpool in both games, they could have got a win. They could have done. They lost it by penalty shootout, which involved a mistake by the manager by bringing on Kepa. But I still believe that Thomas Tuchel will get sacked this year. I just look at that game from last night or this morning, and I think Chelsea have a lot of work they need to do still in the transfer market. They haven't bought their second centre half like they needed to. They probably need another midfielder because Jorginho and Kante aren't getting any younger. Did he cover a fullback? Probably. Yeah. If Azpilicueta's leaving and Chilwell's not 100% fit, they need to cover one position. Attacking midfield, Mount's good. Havertz can play as an attacking midfielder. You can even put Sterling as like a winger in a front 3, like the same way that Tottenham do it. Pulisic, is he good enough? He's got to turn it on this season. Ziyech, is he good enough? Probably not. No. The guy's 29 years of age and he's proven to be a 7 out of 10 player at the very most. Pardon me. Mason Mount is the obvious star quality in that front line in regards to the attacking players. He had a pretty poor season last season by his standards. I'll be fair, it's a pretty decent season, but he had a better season the season before. And his form for England's been very shaky. And a lot of these players will be overthinking the fact that we've got a World Cup in 4 or 5 months' time. And they've got to concentrate on that. Now, who do I think will finish above them? Arsenal, Manchester United, of course, who will finish 4th. At the moment, I probably have to slightly edge Arsenal. I think Arsenal are a little bit more settled. They showed last night that they mean business. Do I think they should get gassed up by the result? Hypocritically, they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be getting gassed up by this result because Arsenal are the type of team that will beat Chelsea 4-0 in the pre-season friendly and then lose 3-0 away at Crystal Palace on the first day of the season. A bit like United with Brighton. So I think for Chelsea, they got every right to get worried because they lost 4-0 to a team which I don't think of the finished article just yet, but I still think they could get fourth. Manchester United could get fourth. I think some of the football that they've played in pre-season has been good, has been sharp. The one-touch passing has been excellent. But they still need 3 players. They still need a midfielder. If they can't get De Jong, get Neves in my opinion. They want Anthony. They probably have to get a striker in. Why not get another centre-half in? They probably need at least 3 players. They need another goalkeeper as backup for De Gea and potentially as competition for David De Gea because David De Gea has proved in pre-season that maybe, as much as I think his distribution has improved, coming off his line is still an issue for David De Gea. You saw it with the goal yesterday. You know, any modern day goalkeeper comes for that and punches it away. David De Gea came for it and kind of ducked under it. I love David De Gea. I think he's a much better goalkeeper than Dean Henderson. I think Dean Henderson's a much better claimer of the cross. But would I want Dean Henderson in goal for Manchester United, knowing the amount of shots that we concede? No, I wouldn't. So I think there's still improvements for Manchester United. There's a few improvements for Arsenal. But I think Chelsea need a lot more improvements than they realise they do. I think first and second are pretty much secured. I think third's pretty much secured. I think Man City, Liverpool, whatever order. Tottenham could, be the third wheel in this title race. They could just come out of nowhere. They've got a manager who I believe is just as good as Pep and Klopp. But because of his attitude and the way that he is, he's not been able to stay in a job for long enough because, of course, yes, he's got a winning mentality, but he's a very passionate guy. But on a good transfer window. So why not Spurs compete for the title? I think there will be a stage when people will be thinking that they might compete, but I don't think they'll be in it for the long run. I still think it'll be City and Liverpool. But I don't think it'll be Chelsea. I don't think Chelsea are the team that'll be... Because I think the last few years it's been Man City, Liverpool and potentially somebody else. Last season it was Chelsea. I don't think it will be this year. I think they've got a lot of 7 out of 10s. Chelsea need every great league title winning side have at least 6 or 7 players in the modern day. At least 7 or 8 world-class players. Chelsea's world-class players. Is Thiago Silva world-class? Yeah, probably. He probably is. Koulibaly world-class? Probably. Reece James, is he a world-class right-back? He's a very good right-back, but I don't think he's world-class. I still think Trent and Kyle Walker are better than him, although I do think I'd rather have Reece James play for England than Trent, only because of his defending. I think Trent's a much better distributor of the ball, a much better passer of the ball. So I go for 2 at the moment there. Kante's world-class. Is Sterling world-class? I'm not sure that he is. Is Mount world-class? I don't think that he is. Is Kovacic world-class? I think he's very good, but I don't think he's world-class. Is Mendy world-class? I think there was times in the second half of last season when Mendy proved why it took him about 25 years of his life for him to be considered a professional goalkeeper. I know, obviously, he started playing football when he was like 18, 19 as a job, but it wasn't until like 24, 25 where he, became a professional in the sport. I think there were signs last year where he proved why it took till he was 25 years of age for that to happen. Ask 3 or 4 players is not going to win you the title, world-class players. You look at Liverpool, you look at City. Liverpool have got 4 or 5 players who are arguably the best in the world in their position. City, you could arguably say the same as well. Tottenham, have they? Probably not, but Kane's world-class, Son's world-class. Is Bentancur world-class? Probably not. Is Romero world-class? We'll see this season. I think he's an excellent player. Kulusevski world-class? I think we'll see again this season. I think there are a lot of players that can become world-class through this season. So I think the future is very bright for Tottenham in that respect. And I think that with Chelsea, they've got to be very careful. And I think Thomas Tuchel's walking on a tightrope because I think with this new owner, he'll want to leave his mark on the football club really early. And he will want instant success. He will want silverware. I know there's this thing about him wanting to build the club. Fair enough. But the standards that have been kept at Chelsea for years, even before Roman, let's not forget Ken Bates sacked Vialli 2 months after they won the FA, 2 or 3 months after they won the FA Cup. So Chelsea have always been a club that have never had a long-term manager, in the modern day at least. I wouldn't be surprised if the longest manager they've had in their time in the Premiership is someone like a Glenn Hoddle, and I mean that. Glenn Hoddle was manager for 3 full seasons. It was probably Jose, actually, the first time. But anyway, I'm rambling. What do you guys think? Leave a comment below. Where do you think Chelsea will finish this season? Do you think they'll finish in the top 4, or do you think they might make it out the top 4? Do you think they might be fighting for the Europa League places? What do you think about pre-season? Are we taking it a little bit too seriously? I personally think that we are. Anyway, have a great Sunday. I'm going to say have a great Saturday then, but that's not the case because tomorrow I'm back in work. Just like you guys, I hope. Anyway, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel. I know I rant a lot, I know I ramble a lot, but that's the way that I am. So, like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on all social media platforms. You'll find me, What the Football. Have a fantastic Sunday.